Hello, fellow movie crusaders, and welcome to our latest episode. My name is Sean Wasserkrew. With me, as always, is Brian Michaels. And today, we are here to talk about Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. I'm not going to say it a third time just yet. But we're here to review the second film. I almost said third film, which I think we're still going to get. This is going to be a non-spoiler review and then a spoiler discussion right after it. So if you guys have seen the film, stick with us the whole way through. If you guys have not, watch our non-spoiler, stop it, go watch it, come back, and enjoy listening to the spoiler review from Brian and I. Now, we talked about this last week in our fall-winter movie preview for the rest of the year. This is the first movie to start off the fall-winter schedule. And you and I were both, we weren't like overtly anticipating this, but we definitely were in a better mindset for this movie than we were a few months prior when we saw the first trailer. Now, I know for me, I've got history with Beetlejuice because this was always one of those movies that when I was a kid, Beetlejuice was always on like Saturday morning movies. You know, like you would turn on like WB or CW or whatever, and Beetlejuice was like always on. And then, of course, there was the animated series, and I watched that when I was growing up and stuff like that. So, I mean, Beetlejuice was always around. I wasn't like a diehard Beetlejuice fan by any means, but I always watched it when it was on TV. Were you as big of a fan, or did you not care about it as much?
I went and saw Beetlejuice in the theaters opening day because I'm old. So because yeah,
I was 3. I might have been in the theater, but I don't remember it.
Because at the time, I was kind of just really getting into movies. I was what, 15 at the time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was kind of really just getting into movies. And so I was a lot more aware of kind of what was coming out and, you know, more actors and actresses and directors and that. And I'd seen Pee-wee's Big Adventure, you know, so I liked Tim Burton. He had kind of a wacky thing. And then the previews for this it looks unlike kind of anything else that's come out. Tim Burton definitely has his own style to it. So it just looked like a ton of fun. So I'm like, okay, I'll check this out. And I really enjoyed it at the time. I think because, like I said, it was so different. It is kind of the first time we get to kind of see Tim Burton kind of really going full Tim Burton. I mean, obviously the next year after this, he did Batman, and there was, you know, stuff after that. But this was kind of his introduction to most of the world. And Michael Keaton did a great job. You know, I loved everybody in it. But at the time, I really loved the movie. Now, over the years since then, like I rewatched it just like last year, and it's like I don't love it as much as I did back then when I was a kid. I think just a little bit. It may have something to do with some of the not childishness, but kind of the, you know, a lot of like claymation things and a lot of kind of silly jokes and things like that, which are fine, but they don't kind of hit the same way as I grew up. But that's kind of my history with the first Beetlejuice. It's like I saw it, and I've seen it many times over the years. I've owned it on 3 different formats probably.
Same.
And I still like it. I just don't love it as much as I used to.
Yeah, I watched it about 2 days before we saw the sequel, and I was literally sitting there with Kimberly. I was like, I can't remember if I've actually watched this movie all the way through, or if I'm just remembering always watching the same like 4 scenes. And I watched it, and I was like, no, okay, I have seen all of this. There's a couple like little minutes here and there where I was like, I don't really remember this moment, but it was like, didn't they do something? I was like, nope, I remember that. Like the scene where like Ortho and Adelia are walking through the house and they're doing the spray paint. And I was like, I remember the spray paint because I remember as a kid, I thought that was like the coolest thing, that they could shake the spray paint sound was like the coolest thing to me at that point. So it was like, I was like, no, I remember watching this. And I had fun going back and resurfacing it. But I'll admit the dialogue isn't the strongest in the movie, but it's still, it's iconic classic of, you know, our youth, even for you young teenage years, and for me, you know, just a childhood.
Yeah, and for me, especially at the time, it was kind of my introduction to Winona Ryder, who I wound up having a huge crush on for like the next 10 years.
Oh yeah.
Let's be honest, for most of my life, honestly.
I don't think it's gone away. It's just maybe resurfaced more recent over the last like 5 years than it was. It was like dormant for a while.
But her, and then like I said, and then
disappeared.
But yeah, it's her, between her and Michael Keaton, it was just I love the movie.
Yeah. So I mean, coming back to this one, first off, I was happy that we got, for the most part, everybody back. One person in particular is missing, but for some reason, for very, very important reasons, but they sure focused a lot on that character. But
Yeah, we'll talk about that in the spoiler. I'll
yeah,
talk more about
yeah,
that.
we'll talk
but
about that
yeah.
in the spoiler. That's all I'm going to say about that for the non-spoiler aspect of it. But yeah, I mean, we went into this with, like I said, the first trailer wasn't strong. It really wasn't that good. The second trailer was a lot stronger, and left us kind of both like in not highly anticipated, at least anticipated to go and watch it. And so,
Yeah.
what were your general thoughts of Beetlejuice when you
Well,
saw
first I
the
want to say, even when I went to see the movie, I was kind of like, I'm optimistic. I'm like, I bet I'll enjoy this, but I wasn't like insanely and excited or anything. But I will say, when I sat there and movie starts and the Danny Elfman theme kicks in, I was just like, I was right back in it. I was so like, oh, I love this because they're doing the whole thing, over the model. All those time,
Oh
it's
yeah,
a model over, but they're going over the town, and the theme is playing. I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm right back into the original Beetlejuice, and I was loving it. And for a good chunk of the movie, I was doing pretty good. I will say, as it went on, because it took kind of Beetlejuice didn't even show up until well into the movie.
granted, he doesn't show up well into the first one either. But
Yeah, but I mean, but that's
for
because the
this
character
time
doesn't introduce.
around, it's like,
Yeah,
come
um,
on.
and that's my main problem with this one is that while I did enjoy this movie, I feel like it had too many storylines and subplots going on, some of which like don't even go anywhere. It had kind of too many characters that were probably unnecessary, and I think they focused on all the wrong ones. It's like the things that I really wanted them to focus on, like Monica Bellucci's character. We'll get into the details of it in the spoiler section,
Dolores
but
is
her plotline, Dolores, um, from her first scene, I'm like, this is the most interesting character in this movie. I can't wait to see where this goes, and then it kind of becomes completely inconsequential to the movie, and I'm like, okay, that's the part I wanted to see more about, and that she was barely in the movie. And whereas they focused on other storylines that I didn't care so much about. And again, it's not a bad movie. It there were things about it that just disappointed me, I guess, just in terms of where they chose to focus their time. I think there's too little Beetlejuice in the movie, even once he does show up. Um, but yeah, the music's great. I think it's nice seeing Tim Burton, going back to the classic Tim Burton style after doing, some more mainstream movies, whether it be going all the way back to Planet of the Apes or, Big Eyes and some of his other ones he's done. Um, Michael Keaton he slipped right back into the role perfectly. It's like he never skipped a beat. He's great at doing what he does. Um, but yeah, I guess that's some of my general thoughts. That I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it.
I, for the most part, 100% agree with you with every aspect. I remember we were, because normally I don't do this, but I was interested. So like I'm sitting in the theater after the movie, and then I pulled up your Letterboxd review, and I'm reading it. And I'm like, man, we're spot on. Like like everything he's saying for the most part, I am agreeing with. I think it took about a good 20 minutes to get going. That first 20 minutes when they were basically not in, was it Winter River? Is it Winter River? Or,
Winter River, yeah.
yeah, I almost want to say Wind River. I was like, nope, that's another movie. When they were in like New York or wherever the hell they were, I did not give a rat's ass about what was going on. Like, I get that we're trying to catch up with all the characters and stuff like that. Once they got back to Winter River, that's when the movie was like, okay, here we are, Beetlejuice. This is the movie that I wanted to see, because I really didn't care about what Lydia was doing and what Delia was doing and what was going on with Astrid, played by Jenna Ortega. Like, I know it's needed, but I feel like it just took too much time, because this is only 15 minutes longer than the first movie, and the first movie is a very fast 90 minutes. This was a very fast, chaotic hour 45 for all the wrong reasons. And the reasons being is that you were super slow for the first 20 minutes setting up the three leads. Then we finally get back to Winter River, and then here's 20 other characters being thrown in. Here's all these subplots. Here's this subplot. Here's this plot. And it's like, okay, that's intriguing. That's intriguing. I kind of know where this one's going to go to a point. I don't know if I really care about this. And then they, like you said, they focused on the ones that we cared the least about. And the ones that we did care about you literally could remove them from the movie and the movie's still the same fucking film. There's at least 2 or 3 subplots in this movie that you could completely cut out of the film. The film is the exact same movie. It does not change it. It might change some dialogue, but it doesn't affect the film one step. And it's supposed to, but it doesn't. And Michael Keaton's great. I loved Michael Keaton back in this role. I thought Winona Ryder was great coming back as Lydia. I thought Catherine O'Hara was great as Delia. I thought Jenna Ortega was great at Astrid. I don't think it was a bad performance in the entire film. I think everyone did a great job with what they were supposed to do in the movie. It was very much like another movie that disappointed me this year, which was Ghostbusters. Too many characters, too many subplots. Just keep it with the core group of this franchise that we love. Hell, you could have rehashed the same fucking story from the first film with Beetlejuice wanting to go after Jenna Ortega and not Winona Ryder. I would have been satisfactory.
I would have been okay with that. Or actually, what I was thinking is like, because I loved really everything that took place like in the afterlife, the underworld, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking I would have liked if this whole movie was just, Beetlejuice and Dolores and kind of that whole story and that whole world. If you didn't have the Dietz family in it at all, I would have been okay with it. I mean, it was nice seeing them back, but for Beetlejuice sequel, I'm okay with you just moving on and seeing what Beetlejuice is up to, kind of thing.
I agree. I would have been okay if they weren't in the film. I think too many people have been like, "Where the hell's Lydia?" But they didn't need to be the main focal point. The main focal point should have been Beetlejuice. It should have been the story with Dolores and the underworld and stuff like that. And I remember I was right before we watched the movie, I go, they better explain why Adam and Barbara are not in this movie. Because we know they're going back to the house. And if Adam and Barbara are just not there, and they're just not going to mention it, I go, that's going to piss me off because there's no reason for them not to be there. Luckily, they throw a line in there. They explain why they're not there.
Which let's be honest, the reason they're not in there.
I'm fine with that because this is what's going to happen if they didn't have the throwaway line. One, they just pretend like they don't even mention them, which that will piss me the fuck off because there's no way they would not be there. Two, you would have to CGI the old versions of themselves in the movie, which would piss everyone the fuck off.
Yeah, because Ghost don't age.
Exactly. Or three, they would age into their current versions. So you're like, well, how the fuck did Adam or Alec Baldwin how did Adam change into that? So I was like, I told Kimberly, I was like, I just need a line. I need a line to explain why they're not in the movie, that they passed on or they did something, which was pretty much exactly what the fuck they said to a point. I go, and then I'm okay with that. And they gave me the line. I was like, okay, I can stop like getting annoyed. They were at the house. Yeah, because they were at the house for a little bit. I was like, where the fuck are they? I need a reason. They dropped it. I'm like, all right, cool. I can let that go now. But no, the movie itself was fun. I had fun. I laughed. I had some fun moments with it. There's certain things that didn't hit, I think, as well as they thought it was going to hit. And I think you and I are in agreement on what that same thing was. There was stuff I liked about this one particular scene, but there was one big aspect of that scene that did not work well for me, which we'll talk about in the spoiler thing. And Kimberly and I also kind of felt weird because we also felt like we were the only people in the theater actually having fun watching the movie. Because we had 20 plus people in the theater, but we seemed to be the only ones laughing and just enjoying it. Like everyone else was just like.
I will say I was surprised because I went to a Wednesday night screening they had, and my theater was pretty much packed, which doesn't even happen when I go see blockbusters. Like when I see Twisters or things on opening night, I haven't had packed theaters. But this one, I'm probably because there was only showing one show that night. It wasn't spread out over multiple show times, but the theater was packed, and that actually, I will say, made me enjoy the experience more because there were a lot of people in mine laughing. But yeah,
honestly, it felt like outside of an old dude who kept turning on his fucking phone on the brightest level during the movie, it felt like we were the only two people in that theater because we were the only ones that seemed to be reacting to anything that was happening in the film.
Yeah, I had the opposite experience where people were laughing way more than me, and I'm just like, really? You thought that was funny?
There were certain things that Kimberly and I were laughing at, and we were to the point where I was like, are we the only ones finding this funny, or is everyone else just dead in this theater? But at the end of the day, just to wrap up the non-spoiler aspect, I thought everyone did great in the film. It's not an acting issue with this movie at all. It is an over-convoluted plot, way too many new characters introduced, not enough screen time to give these characters their due. too many subplots that really could have been dropped. They could have kept this very simple, very basic, and I think it would have been a lot stronger of a film for me. But I still had fun with it. I'm still glad it came out. I hope that they do a third movie, and I'm sorry, I feel like they're going to, because you don't go Beetlejuice and then Beetlejuice and not then do Beetlejuice. Like, you don't,
especially considering the money this is already showing that it's going to make almost $100 million this weekend alone. So
you set
they'll
this up
probably
for
do another one.
You set this one up for a trilogy. You're not going to not that do it based off of how you did the title. But for me, I'm giving it a 66%. There was good growth. It's not as good as the first one, because the first one was, like I said, a tight 90 minutes. It focused on these central characters. It didn't try to throw a whole bunch of shit in. You knew what the plot was. You knew what the stakes were. Bam, bam, bam. We're in, we're out. This one just tried to do way too much. Because I remember going into the third act, I'm like, what? They haven't gone back to this character in a while. We're in the third act. How are they going to try? And they were just like, they rushed everything in to end it at the end. And I was just like, that's messy. It's very messy. It worked, but it's messy, and I didn't like what they did with it. But yes, it's a low 3.5 for me. What did you end up giving your score?
You know, that's like right in line with mine, because honestly, it'd probably be like a 3.25. Right now, I have it as a 3. It could easily go to a 3.5, because it is kind of that, basically like the exact place as you have it.
Yeah, because I was looking at it, I was like, because I saw you gave it a 3, and I was like, yeah, I could give it a 3, but then I'm looking at the stuff that's like right at like a 65, 66. I'm like, no, I liked it more than this. But I didn't. I was like, no, it's a 60. It's a solid.
It's 60. One of those where, you know, it's not going to go higher than a 3.5.
No, it's
but
not.
It could go up on a subsequent viewing based on, you know, now that one of those things where I know now what to expect kind of things. But you know, that's right in the same area as yours.
Yeah. So that's our non-spoiler talk of this. So if you guys have not seen Beetlejuice, go ahead, leave now, go watch it, come back, hear our spoiler thoughts, or if you guys just don't care, stay on and keep watching. So here is your spoiler warning. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now on to the spoilers. You go ahead. I feel like I've talked most of this review, right? So you go ahead with your spoiler thoughts.
Okay. Spoiler thoughts. So let's go ahead and start off with Dolores. So Monica Bellucci shows up in her introduction scene with the, you know, Danny DeVito cameo, and you got her body parts kind of going. She staples herself together. I'm like, I
love that Danny DeVito was basically acting like dead penguin. Just
yeah.
Feels like he's basically Penguin though in this movie. But yeah,
but she shows up, and I already liked. And first of all, Danny DeVito, I recognized from the back of his head. I'm like, that's Danny.
Oh, DeVito. I knew it right away. I was like, that's either like the little guy who played the priest in the first movie, or it's Danny DeVito. And then as soon as it got like you heard him talk, I was like, Danny DeVito?
Yeah.
I was like, he wasn't in the first one. I was like, cool.
But she's done a bunch of stuff with Tim Burton. So that's no surprise.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But Monica Bellucci's her character introduction, I loved that. And you know, we kind of find out she's out for, you know, revenge against Beetlejuice. And later you find out, you know, the whole black and white dubbed Italian scene where you find out the history of when they were married, and you know, she killed him and he killed her. And I'm like, okay, I like this story. I like, you know, I want to see where this goes. And then it went nowhere. It's like you saw occasionally you'd see like a 1-minute scene of her, like, you know, trying to track him down, or, you know, sucking a soul to try and get closer to him. And then
she's just walking around in the background.
Yeah.
It like almost like a Scooby-Doo episode where like the ghoul is looking for Scooby and the gang and they just pass each other. That's literally a scene that happens in the fucking movie. But that's
and then she shows up basically in the final scene, and it's like, okay, you're done. Like, whoa, you're not going to do anything with this. You're not going to resolve it. You're not going to go anywhere with this storyline. No.
You notice that they didn't have, outside of that one like 2-sentence scene they had, they don't interact at all the entire film. You can't have this subplot of she's trying to track him down. There's this history between them and all this, and you don't give them really a single goddamn scene together at all.
Or when you do finally have, if it is just one scene when they finally meet, it should be kind of an epic scene.
Yes.
But it's not. And it was like you said, you could take this whole plot line out of the movie and the movie would not change one bit. And I'm so mad because that's the storyline I was most interested in, the character I was most interested in.
Same thing with Willem Dafoe's character. You take his character.
Oh yeah, he was pointless. I liked him, but he was
having fun. He was having fun. I enjoyed him when he was on screen. But you could take Willem Dafoe's character completely out of the movie, and the movie is no different. And you could have done and then the whole boy subplot or teenage boy subplot. I was not about that. I wasn't. I don't think it was needed. I would have much rather had Beetlejuice like be into Jenna Ortega's character and have that be the driving force of her going to the underworld and them having to like go back and save her, than this, you know, boy situation. And then just the way they ended it with him, like, oh, shit out of luck, bub, done. It's like,
again, because they had an extra subplot with like, oh, this is getting in the way of this other story, so let's just get rid of this character now.
Yeah, it's like
literally drop him through the floor. And
you could have had this very go ahead.
No, and my other problem with it is like, I mean, I know that I've seen a ton of movies. You've seen a ton of movies. So we tend to kind of do a good job of predicting what's coming up. Because we've seen kind of every kind of thing you come up with. But this just seemed so predictable. When you saw him, like I already kind of thought something was up with this. This is too easy. And then she sees him a second time and he's wearing the exact same clothes again. And they obvious.
They don't show the parents' faces.
Very obvious about showing not the parents' face. I'm like, okay, they're dead. They're dead. And sure enough, they're dead. And he killed her. And also at that point, especially like when he starts talking about how, you know, he wants her to read this incantation, you're like, okay, and he's the villain. You know, we know this is coming too. He's not good. He's or a villain, I guess, of the movie. And so I'm like, okay, so this storyline, while I didn't hate it, it was super predictable, which is more just kind of annoying than anything else.
Because like I'm thinking, and this is kind of the same situation where I had with like Blink Twice, where it was just like you had a very simple story that you could have told that would have hit a lot harder if you would have done, but then you added all this extra shit. You could have had the same subplot with Lydia and Astrid, where she thinks her mom's a fraud because the one ghost that she wants her to see is her dead father, and she can't see that. You have that built in. That's great. You can still have.
Did I miss something? Did they ever explain why she can't see him?
No, she just could never see him. I think it's because he was in the underworld.
The end when it was convenient, apparently.
I think it was more or less because he was in the underworld, because she only sees, except for Beetlejuice.
He said that he visited them and like watched them many times, but she never saw it.
They never explained that how she couldn't see it.
Like,
part of me was almost waiting for that she could see him, but maybe he was like abusive or bad or something, and she just chooses to like ignore him, kind of like what she tries to do with Beetlejuice.
No, he was the good father, yeah.
But yeah, he was a good dad the whole time. Just like that whole story was like, look, our relationship was over before he died. I was like, why? I kind of want to. Can we dive into that a little bit more? Like, why did your guys' relationship fail? Like, why was there? You know, I would have liked a little bit more dialogue on that. But you could have had this story that's you know, which is basically what their main problems with each other is, that she can't see the one ghost that Astrid wants her to see, and then she brings up Beetlejuice. Lydia tells her, "Don't ever say that name," but then she uses Beetlejuice in the hopes that she could find her father. And then Beetlejuice is like, I'll help you if you help me. And then that's the focal point, is that Beetlejuice is using Astrid to get to Lydia, or just to use Astrid. And then you still can get down into the underworld. You can still have everything that's happening without having this boy subplot, without having the Dolores subplot, without having to have all this other shit. And it would have been a very tight-knit story, still had the same effect, still have the same subplot story, or not the subplot, but still have the same emotional weight for these characters without all this extra crap. And it's not even that the crap that was in it was bad. It just was overstuffed, because by the time we got to the end, it was like, they still have to do this.
You have what? You have the ex-wife subplot, you have the dead dad subplot, you have the dead Charles subplot, you have the boyfriend subplot, you have Willem Dafoe's doing off his own thing. It's like there's just so many things going on, and then of course the whole relationship with you know, Lydia and Delia, or not Lydia and Astrid. It's like
and then once again, like, you guys are making a point to say that Jeffrey Jones is dead because he can't be in Hollywood because of the, you know, he's a shitty person outside of Hollywood. But then you guys really want to make Jeffrey Jones a focal point through this whole fucking film. You're going to do claymation with Jeffrey Jones. You're going to have his pictures and shit throughout the whole film. And then you're going to have like his body with someone basically doing an impersonation of his voice throughout the whole movie. I was like, for someone who doesn't want him to be in the movie, you guys are sure as fuck making sure he's in this fucking movie.
That's the thing, is I remember seeing the preview and I'm like, okay, it appears that they're on. I don't think the previews ever said they were at his funeral, but he's at a funeral and he wasn't there. So like,
no, clearly, they never integrated that it was him, but we all were like, it's gonna be him.
That's what they're doing, and I thought that was such a smart move. It's like, because you can't have him in the movie, but you don't want to just like recast it or anything. So you have to explain it. So, okay, sure. Let's just have him. He died, funeral. That's why they're back in town. Okay.
Yeah.
That's smart. But then just have that be it. You don't have to show us how
everywhere.
he died in a claymation sequence with a claymation Jeffrey Jones. You don't have to have his tombstone have a picture of him on it. It could just
Or
be a
they're in the
tombstone.
house and there's paintings and everything of him everywhere. And it's just like, you guys are making him in this movie. Now, if he had died in real life and he couldn't be in the movie for obvious reasons, because he's dead, then this makes sense. But it's like, no, you don't want him in this movie because he's a shitty person. But you guys are fucking putting that. It's like, I don't understand what you guys are trying to do here.
And I don't even understand why they had the whole, because they had another subplot. Well, like I said, with the dead Charles, like wandering around trying to get back and find his wife. It's like, it's unnecessary. Again, you didn't need to have that. It was just something else to shove in to take time as you watch him wander around. B, it looked weird because he looked like extra wide. Even he was like had a shark bite out of him, but his body.
I mean, he's pretty heavy now in real life, so I think it fits his size for where he is personally right now. But compared to,
I want to know how his corpse. I want to know how his corpse is talking because there's no head, no vocal cords, but he's like saying words as he gurgles out through. It's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, nothing about that made sense at all.
It was just another unnecessary thing.
Yeah, but I mean, it just, like, you and I are pretty good, and we've said this multiple times on the channel. We're pretty good at separating real life from movie. Yeah. So if he was in it, like, you have people, I'm not gonna watch that movie because he's in it. Like, look, I can just watch the movie for what it is. But when you know he's not in it because he's done this, but then you are just throwing him in there, it's like, at that point, just fucking put him in the movie. If you're gonna do it, just fucking do it. Like, don't dance around and throw him in our face the whole time, and then say, like, well, we can't have him in the movie. No, you fucking did. You might as well put him in the cast list. He's in the fucking movie. Don't pull that crap. I do have one issue though, and Kimberly pointed it out to me, and I was like, oh yeah, you're fucking right. At the end of Beetlejuice, they redid the whole house to make it look like how it used to before the Deets moved in. But then the house was back to the way it was remodeled when they were back in the house. Did you notice that shit?
I haven't watched it recently enough, so I don't know.
Well, it's at the very end when they're doing when Winota's doing the whole dance sequence. The house looks like it used to look with Adam and Barbara in it, and they're just like, oh, they built it back to look the way it used to look, but now in this one, it's back to looking like when Delia.
Well, maybe once Adam and Barbara moved out, then they went
and they got rid of the big side structure thing, the big add-on thing that wasn't there anymore either. So it was just like. It's not.
Well, we don't know how long ago the Maitlands left. So maybe they decided to, like, okay, now they're gone. Now it is our house. We can do what we want to with it. I don't know.
Maybe.
But again, a line like that would have helped.
That's a lot of money that they wasted for that shit. But I think you and I
they donated a media center to the college. Come on.
That's true. I think you and I are both in agreement. I think the big dance number didn't work. And I don't think it's at all. And it's not even the dance sequence. It was the song choice, because that song was fucking annoying. And it was so
because it was like it was something kind of fun. It was something lightweight, and then they did so. It was MacArthur Park or something. And it's like the song didn't work at all, and it didn't lend itself to good, visual gags, things like that. And for me, just that whole theme didn't work. Yes.
It was. I was like, oh my god, is this American Pie? Like, I feel like this is like an 8-minute sequence of this one song. It's not a fun song. The other song was fun. It had fun lyrics. Hell, even during the funeral for they had the little kids singing. I was like, yeah, it's a little forced, but I'm okay with it. But the song, it was all about fucking baking a cake, and I was just like, this is just not good. I don't hate what's going on.
Why is Beetlejuice delaying his own wedding by singing this song, by making everybody sing the song too?
Yeah, and then even what did you think of Justin Theroux's character? What did you think of Rory?
I mean, I thought it was kind of lame and obnoxious, but I mean, I guess that's, you're supposed to feel like you don't like him.
Yeah.
But for me, it was just kind of like, I thought, no, he played a little over the top, but it was like, you have to have a
subplot that was not necessarily needed.
You have to have a human villain. You have to have something like that, because he's like basically like the yuppies in the first one. He was like the remaining one like that. I mean, I didn't hate him. He's fine. Didn't love me.
I just have, I don't, and maybe you can refresh my memory. When he's in TV, like The Leftovers, Justin Theroux is an amazing actor. But it seems like in movies, he's always playing like an over the top caricature. Like in like Charlie's Angels 2, he's like the super crazy abusive boyfriend who's like silent. I don't even know how you want to explain him in this one, but it's just like I'm waiting for him to actually have like a good like film role, because I know he's a very capable actor.
I think he's always just kind of done like kind of small supporting roles like this, whether it be comedies or dramas or anything like that. I can't think of a single movie that he's led.
I can't either.
But I know he's also like a writer. Like he was one of the writers of like Zoolander 2 and Tropic Thunder and Iron Man 2 and some other stuff. So I mean, I guess I don't think I ever see him becoming like an A-list star or like somebody who stars in big movies. So I think TV is kind of a better place for him, honestly.
He has the ability, because I mean, in Leftovers, he was, that's how Carrie Coon's career jumped, was from Leftovers, and he could have jumped from that because he was phenomenal on that show. But I never see him.
Movies. I usually enjoy him in these small roles, but it's like I don't see him ever becoming a lead in film. I don't know why.
He has the look; he can easily do it. I just don't know why he doesn't seem to want to. But the other thing too, Beetlejuice was never the bad guy in this movie. He never really did. If anything, he saves the day like every time in this movie. He has his own way of doing it, but like even at the very end when they were like, "Yo, you go away," it's like he without him, everything fell apart. He saves Astrid. He more than once he saved Astrid. He saves everybody. The only thing that he didn't do is that he didn't save them from the sandworm. That was the father. But Beetlejuice is not the bad guy in this. If anything, they fucked him over with the contract.
In the first movie too. The first they go to him for his help, and then he gets screwed out of the things he was promised. This movie, he has a contract, and they're like, "Oh, we found loopholes, so we don't have to do our side of the contract." Like, well, fine then, screw you. I'm going to put you back where you were.
Beetlejuice is not in the wrong in this movie at all. They pushed, like, granted, he's stalking Lydia in the beginning,
Beetlejuice is an innocent guy who was poisoned and killed by his wife when he didn't do anything, as far as we know. And then now, even in the afterlife,
he was a grave robber. That's what we knew. He was a grave robber. That was it.
Yeah. It's a job.
I mean, and technically, he killed his wife.
Black Plague. What do you want?
And also, justice for Bob. Bob got fucked over in this movie. Bob was a fun character. I enjoyed the hell out of Bob. Bob did not deserve to die.
I thought I would be really annoyed by watching this people with this silly little shrunken heads walking around. But the thing is, Bob, even though it's like this, clearly just a dude in a costume, with a little puppet head on top of it. I swear I felt more emotion from Bob than anybody else. Like when he was looking like scared and stuff, like under the desk and stuff. I'm like, oh, poor Bob.
When he dies, Kimberly and I both looked at her like, Bob didn't deserve that. Like I figured like he would, the thing would get ripped off and he'd be able to talk, and like maybe Dolores would like, I
thought they'd be able to talk. Yeah.
I was like, they just kind of didn't do anything with him. I was like, what was the point of that? Also, they're all still running around Winter River. They didn't say that they corralled all the rest of the little shrunken head guys. They're all just running rampant in that town right now. Because there was no end point to that. So who knows, and then of course, based off of where they left the movie, I mean, clearly, like I said, we're going to get a third film. He's still haunting her, if you want to call that haunting. But like I said, there was a lot of fun to be had. Honestly, any time outside of the pot or the cake song, every time Michael Keaton was lip syncing like Bryan Adams and shit, I thought that was funny as hell. Like the one time when he was like playing the guitar on the model.
Richard Marx.
What's that?
Richard Marx.
Yeah, Richard Marx. I thought it was Bryan Adams. But I was laughing. I thought that was great. But yeah, Keaton was great in this. I think the first scene, I felt like he was still trying to like get into it, but then like after that, he just flowed beautifully right back into the role. I wasn't necessarily a big fan of the flashback scene with him and Dolores because the whole Italian
thing was unnecessary. I agree with that.
Long. It was like a Family Guy joke. It was a small simplistic joke, but it went on too long, and I was just like, can we go back to English, please? Because I don't think this joke's hitting the way you think it's hitting. But I'm glad we got the explanation that it didn't have to be in all Italian the whole time. But it was just one of those movies, like I said, like it's a fun film. It's nowhere near as good as the first one, but it's at its own fault. It just threw too much shit in there, and they could have removed William Dafoe, could have removed the boy, could have removed Monica Bellucci, even though we didn't want her.
We could have removed her, although I would have preferred, more of her instead. Yeah,
like there is a really good film in here. It's just organized poorly and chaotic. Yes, it's chaotic, and even the whole sandworm thing. It's like, dude, you just redid the whole end. Like, oh, here's the sandworm coming through again, and taking out Dolores and Rory, and it's just like, okay, so we are just going to do the same scene. Plus, you could telegraph from a mile away what was going to happen. And that was the thing. This movie didn't really have any shocks or surprises. It's not that it necessarily needed it, but it was just like, okay, well, clearly the boy, like I think after the very first scene, Kimberly's like, so the boy's a ghost. And then, like, I thought for a second he wasn't, because I could have sworn, and I had to go back and rewatch it, I could have sworn when they came into his house that I saw his reflection in the mirror. And I was like, well, maybe it's just the parents that are dead and not him, because I could have swore I saw his reflection. And we know
maybe what seems to be the case is they just make up the rules as they go along. In this,
well, I just remember in the first movie you couldn't see Adam and Barbara in the mirror, so I was like, oh shit, well, maybe he's not dead, because I think I just saw him and Astrid walking off a reflection. Maybe it's just the parents. And then as soon as he was like, oh, the book's upstairs, I'm like, oh no, he's fucking dead. I wasn't expecting him to be like a fucking serial killer kind of thing. I was like, okay, well, there's a little twist, but it's not a good twist.
Which that's one other thing was when we talk about the book, the handbook for the recently deceased. Like Astrid, glances at 3 pages of it one time when she's in the room, and next thing you know, she's at the wedding being like, "Oh, we have to do this," and she knows exactly what to do. It's like, well, how did you get all that from glancing?
She's like Neo from the Matrix. She just had to touch it and download on her brain.
I will say, you said no surprises. One surprise I did like, and I enjoyed this. I don't know why. I just really enjoyed this. Was little baby Beetlejuice. When
I was like, baby Beetlejuice was cool. I had
Lydia blows up, and then she just gives birth to this thing. I'm like, holy shit, they're going here.
And then she just smiles at it.
Yeah, and I thought that little thing was cute. I thought it was so much fun. It's like I want to see a Chucky style movie or something with little baby Beetlejuice. That's how the third one should be. Focus on him, because I'll take baby Beetlejuice over Baby Yoda any day.
Your hate for Grogu knows no bounds. Like, he's
also sandworms here better than sandworms in Dune.
You're trying to agitate me, and I'm not gonna fall for it. Now you're gonna say it was better than the Batman. I'm not gonna fall for that.
But it's better than the
Batman. Yeah, I know what you're gonna say.
That's not getting agitated. That's just facts.
I disagree. Also, I will say this: does Dune 2 felt like it came out over a year ago?
It did. What was it, March? I think
it was March, but it feels like a year ago since that movie came out.
Well, just because we actually had a full summer of movies, which you haven't had.
Yeah, it's only been 6 months, but goddamn, Dune 2 felt like a long time ago. Anything else you'd like to add for Beetlejuice?
No, that covers it.
Do you think we're gonna get a Beetlejuice?
If you asked me before, I would have said probably not. I think it's they wanted to come back and do this, and they've been wanting to do this for years, and Michael loves the role, and he wanted to do it one more time, and I think they would just been done this and been done with it. But I can't imagine, with the money it appears that it's going to make, that Warner Brothers isn't going to be like, I think we can squeeze one more out of this. And I think we will see a third one in 3 years, 3 years.
Plus, I feel like everyone, the only person I could see maybe not come back is Jenna Ortega, because she just seems to be kind of I don't know. She doesn't seem to play ball with a lot of people very well. That's at least from what I read. She doesn't seem to be very. She has an attitude, from what I've read. I've heard Wednesday season 2 has been kind of a nightmare.
She become a little diva. Is that what you're hearing?
A little bit. But I don't see anything. I don't see Winona Ryder and Tim Burton and Michael Keaton not wanting to come back. Catherine O'Hara, she'll easily come back as well. I don't see any of them really having any problems coming back into this.
You could bring back Defoe if you give him a bigger part,
Yeah, exactly. So I definitely see a third film coming out of this.
Do that. Do the whole thing where Monica Bellucci's Dolores gets out of wherever she wants to go, and so Beetlejuice comes to them for their help to help him. There you go. So you got a movie right there.
You just want Monica. I mean, isn't she married to Tim Burton, or she's dating Tim Burton?
Is she now?
I think
Oh,
so.
well, then she'll be in his next 5 movies. That's how he works.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like she's gonna be back. If the sandworm didn't kill Beetlejuice in the first one, he definitely didn't kill Rory and Monica Bellucci. I also would have loved a line to explain how Beetlejuice's head grew back to regular size because he got shrunk at the end of the first movie. I would have loved just a line of dialogue how he got that to grow back. But anyway, what was your guys' thoughts of Beetlejuice Beetlejuice? Did you guys like it, not like it? Were you kind of like us where we had fun with it, but it clearly has its issues? Let us know in the comments below. We hope you guys enjoyed this non-spoiler and spoiler discussion. If you guys did, go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos pop up on the movie Crusaders. And of course, you have to follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. Coming up next, let's see, what do we got here? We've got the 4:30 movie, we got the Killer's Game, and we got the movie that just won't leave us alone, Speak No Evil, is finally coming out, as well as Brian and I's #1 most made fun of movie of the year, Uglies, on Netflix, as well as My Old Ass, and no, that's not Subservience.
That's all I got for next week. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I thought I saw Subservience. I was like, is that in The Substance? But that's not.
The Substance is the following week. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got plenty of stuff coming out. I don't know how much of that is actually going to have their own reviews. We might just wait and compile all those onto a Movie Crusaders chat about, and we'll just kind of talk about them all. Brian did see Rebel Ridge. He gave it thumbs up for that.
Enthusiastic thumbs up. It's one of my best surprises of the year so far.
Yes, and Brian has now seen both the director's cuts for Rebel Moon. Also thumbs up from Brian.
Also thumbs up. Now, I enjoyed the originals to some extent. I did not hate them like everybody else did. I didn't think they were.
I did not.
I
like
wouldn't even call them good movies, but I thought they were fine.
I did not like the originals. I'm about 3/5 of the way through the first one. Guys, it's good. It's actually
they are really huge improvements over it, and it's not just more blood and boobs, although there is plenty of that as well. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, there definitely is.
But there's substantial, like, actual substance to the movie. I think it adds so much more, and he hasn't even started the second one, which I think the second one benefits from it even more than the first one did.
No, I still have 90 minutes left.
If you haven't seen them, only watch the director's cuts.
Yeah, don't even waste your time with the theatrical.
If you have seen them, if you completely hated it, you're probably not going to love these. But if you thought there was at least something to it, there's potential there, check these out, because I think you'll really see the improvement in these.
Yes. But either way, we'll be back later with some more movie chat. Until next time, we are the Movie Crusaders. I'm Sean Wascroop. That is Brian Michaels. Until next time, in case we don't see you, go watch some movies and go have some fun.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.